Welcome, everybody. My name is Arjun Roy. I'm a producer, recordist, and mix engineer, currently sitting in beautiful Grande Prairie, Alberta, Canada, my hometown. Thank you for checking this video out. If you haven't yet, make sure to hit subscribe and smash that little bell. Thank you. This is the second episode of a series of podcasts that I'm calling the Hometown Hustle Podcast. It's primarily an unedited conversation between me and some of my dear art and music friends who are instrumental in the music and art scene in Grande Prairie and the area. This is really about my artistic journey and the scene that helped me get where I am today. So for the second episode of this thing, we have my good friend, Al Peterson. Al, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I've got a lot of important things to say.
Okay, please.
And it's nice to have a platform.
Okay, good. Well, I know that's the thing, man. That's what this is all leading up to. Al, man, I just have to, I feel like there's like a period of bromancery that has to happen before we get into anything. So thank you so much for being here. I love you. I am so appreciative of, you kind of giving me your time to like come chat a bunch and, film it for posterity.
I want to point out, until this very moment,
the
filming was not mentioned.
Oh, no, wait, really?
No.
Oh, shit, I'm sorry, man. I didn't realize that.
And now you've gone and busted the swear count for the PG thing.
What did I say?
That's
you know what?
Add a beep.
I'm going to beep it. That's it.
I love bleeped
Beep.
out. Oh my gosh.
Or I could do
They're
like
the
a
best.
like a TBS thing, oh dang.
Yeah, totally.
Like one of those.
Just
fiddlesticks.
like sample somebody else's voice.
Exactly. I'll sample Lakshmi saying something
just something random.
Okay.
Heckin' jeepers.
After that entire preamble about PG stuff.
No, not swearing.
Well, this was that one, I suppose.
So
thank you
my
for being here.
management will be calling you soon about the royalties for the video. But,
dude, I know. I'm sorry. Maybe we could replace the video with something else entirely. You know what I mean? Like, I just like
shadow puppets.
Shadow puppets.
Shadow puppets immediately comes to mind.
Done.
That's a weird.
So
anyway.
this video or this audio with shadow puppets. Well, thank you for allowing me to film you as well, sir.
No, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. So you have driven here from?
I live in the woods near Vernon, BC.
The woods are great, man. Nature is nice.
It's pretty naturey.
Yeah. So you arrived yesterday, correct?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
technically arrived very early this morning.
Ah, okay.
I got in about 1 a.m.
Okay. Damn. Okay. Darn. Wow.
All the beeping you gotta do.
I know. I'm just. It's funny after Brandon left. I'm like, okay, get in the zone. I think I'm in that the PG-13 zone. No, the PG zone. There we go.
I think we can say. Can we say damn? I think you can say damn.
I think we can say damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Seems okay.
We'll pick and choose the spot. Like this is like a.
You know what? If you beep it though, then they won't know what you said. They'll be like, "Oh man, these guys are filthy.
These guys are hardcore.
They're horrible."
If there's one thing that they know about you and I is that we're hardcore. A couple of hardcore characters in the scene.
Super hardcore.
Speaking of hardcore, this might be a really good segue. Can I tell a story real quick before we start conversing some more? We continue conversing?
Yeah.
This is a very hardcore story. So,
goody.
So I moved to Grande Prairie in the year 2000. I started GPRC September 2000. I probably got here in August or something. Howler's Lounge, which is a lounge at the college that, I don't know if it still does. I mean, I don't know if it hosts a lot of shows or anything, but at that time, there were a lot of shows.
Yeah.
A lot of music came through there. And I don't know what the nature of this concert was, but I was at the show probably by myself because I didn't know anybody. But I loved music and I loved seeing live music. And a band came on stage for whatever show this was, and it was cool. They were great. They seemed to be my age, which is when you're young, you're always like, yeah, they're my age and they're doing stuff. I love them. Yes, I get this. They're playing tunes. I don't know how many songs they got into it, but again, the music was compelling and I dug their sound. Tones were great. Like, it was all really good. At some point, the front person smashed their guitar on the stage.
Oh gosh!
That's the hardcore story. This is the hardcore story, man. Smashed the guitar on stage and then fell over. And I was thinking, whoa, what just happened? That was a hardcore occurrence at this show. And that front person was you.
Yes.
Was the band was called Crushing Sarah at the time? Is
Yes,
that correct?
Yeah, it was Crushing Sarah. Yeah.
Do you want to tell me about the band a little bit?
Yes.
Just
First
maybe let's
off,
start there.
Get
and
your
go from
beep
there.
ready. You.
Whoa,
Oh,
dude.
that word.
It's gonna clean
I'm on
these-
camera though. I didn't say a
clean
thing.
these out.
I'm just on camera, closing my mouth, saying nothing.
Aside from
ruined
beeps,
it.
we'll put like a speech bubble with like question marks and like.
I was so worried you were going to do this. Okay.
I have to.
I know.
have to, man. It's
got a few,
an incredible thing.
I've got a few infamous stories, and that's definitely one of them.
Okay.
Okay, a little bit of background on that.
Yep.
We had shown up to what we thought was an open mic night, and it turned out it was a Battle of the Bands night.
Oh.
They let us in.
Yep.
And we won.
Yeah.
And so our prize was we got to play a Halloween show opening for.
Oh.
I don't remember the name of the band.
Yep.
It was
Yep.
supposedly the next up and coming West Coast
As these things go.
Band.
Of course.
Vedanta or something like that, I think was their name.
There you go. Yep.
And the show was Halloween.
Yeah.
So it's costumes and theatrics and stuff. And I didn't really have a costume, but I broke out the old ska suit from my teenage years.
Oh, awesome.
Wore that. And, oh, damn it. I thought, because, you know, I grew up as a teen in the 90s, and everybody was smashing guitars, man.
It was a cool thing, man.
Everybody was
I
smashing
understand.
guitars. And I wanted to do it once. I wanted to like experience
Yep.
it once, and I was like, "This is the show. It's a Halloween show. It's going to be packed." At the time, Howlers was quite large, and it was kind of one of the happening A rooms for
Yeah,
live music at
totally.
GP at the time. And so I went to a pawn shop and I bought this cheap guitar, rather too cheap, I might
Got
say.
it.
And for you guitar aficionados listening or watching, it was a Samick. It had a 90s style Floyd Rosey huge metal bridge on it. And the thing was made of particle board, which will come into the story in a short amount of time here. And it was a crappy guitar, and I was just going to get through one song on it. And then at the end of the song, I was going to smash it. And so that's what happened. We did our one song, and then I wound up, smashed the guitar, and I heaved it over my head, lumberjack style, brought it down. And particle board is not like a fine ash Stratocaster.
No.
It does not have wood grain that it will crack along. Particle board is powder and glue. So it just exploded.
Right.
And all of the string tension holding this massive metal bridge immediately released and brought that massive metal bridge into my face like a medieval mace or something.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, and it knocked me out cold
Yeah.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I nearly lost an eye. I had to get a lot of stitches to my face, and I was laying there bleeding on the stage. And
Gosh.
I have the story from there is all like told to me by my former bandmates
Yep.
or friends like you who were in the audience. But the story I got was, you went down, Al. Everybody in the room clapped really, really hard for 5 to 10 seconds because they were like, it's an amazing, wow, Halloween show, good times. The security guard went to come on stage, and no one will tell me who. That part is no one will admit to this, but some other of my friends stopped the security guard and said, no, it's part of the show. He meant to do this. So they just left me laying there bleeding longer.
Yes.
And then the applause, I guess, slowly died down as everybody realized, well, he only meant to smash the guitar, not take a nap on stage.
Yes.
And then they picked me up and took me to the security room and didn't call an ambulance. They called my parents.
Oh, no way. Oh, okay.
So my parents came, which was just a real like self-esteem trashing moment. Have my parents come pick me up from the college.
Yeah. Your son has rocked out too hard.
Yeah, your son's an idiot.
Your son is too hardcore.
Clearly
for this
not
place.
at the level where he should be in this building. please come get him and take him to the hospital.
Yeah. Oh man.
And so yeah, I got to and the icing on the cake for me. This is like the worst part of it for me. It wasn't that I smashed my face, and I still have the scars. You can see one here to this day.
Okay, gotcha.
It wasn't that I almost lost an eye. The worst part for me was that I had a massive crush on a mutual friend of ours, who I'm not going to name, but I think you know who she is. And she was I don't remember if she was the student body president or the VP.
She was one of those. Yeah.
She's one of those people. And she just felt bad. She just felt quite horrible that this has all gone down. And she came to see me off in the security office, and I tried to give her, I think, a hug or something to thank her for something. I don't know. And I got blood on her.
Oh my gosh.
She looked a little grossed out and left to wash the blood off, and that was like, well, I don't know how to recover from this, so I'm going to write a sad song and never talk to her again. And
oh my gosh.
That was thanks.
Incredible.
That's a great. You really got me on egoless ground.
Oh my
for this
gosh.
podcast.
The thing that. The reason why that story is interesting to me is, it's a thing that like I'll never forget. Like I'll never forget ever, and it wasn't like for any other reason than, again, as you mentioned, somebody stopped the security guard, and everything seemed so artistic at the time. Like this happened, he smashed the thing and he fell over. I'm like, and I remember seeing all of it go down from sort of side stage, something like that, wherever I was standing, and it all seemed to make sense. The band kept playing, and I think I remember who the security guard was, but I saw somebody trying to come on stage, and then a few people saying like, no, just hold on, motioning like that. No, they're gonna that kind of thing.
That's the person I want to talk to the very most. Is that person who's like, no.
Exactly. Like, he's very hardcore, as we've
he's
established.
Really committed to this show, man.
And the applause went, and then when things go on for just a little too long, and it's either awkward or it's cause for worry. Yeah. It like very quickly, in a matter of like a second, it turned, and everyone sort of audibly stopped clapping. They're like, is he okay? Like what? Did something hit him? Like like what happened?
See, I wish I could have. I wish I could have remembered it from anybody else's perspective.
Gotcha.
Because I would just love to see that turn on people's faces of like, this is not okay.
Yeah, totally. And that's what it was. I mean, as soon as the smash happened and all that, everyone cheered, the place erupted. They're like, yeah, this is the best, and then it wasn't. And I guess the arc of that story ends. I don't know when, again, we'll get to this in a sec, but I'm not sure when you and I sort of officially met and started hanging out. But at some point after that had happened, I realized that I had the neck to that guitar, because somebody days after the show, a friend who I think worked at Howler's, said, "Oh man, we picked this up, and I know you play guitar. Like, do you want like a guitar neck?" And me, being a hoarder of some sort, thought, "Yeah, thank you for this neck that wherever this came from. I'll clearly send out for a Stu Mac, set of parts and build a guitar." I'm like, "Yeah, cool. I'll hang on to this." And then after we started hanging out, it clicked. Like, why do I just have a random guitar neck sitting in my house? Oh, actually, it's not mine. And then it was yours. Al, tell me about you getting into music. Did you grow up here? Maybe we can go back to there. Like, when did you get to Grande Prairie? Were you always here?
I got to Grande Prairie. I was 14 years old. Mm-hmm. We moved here from Vancouver.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Vancouver is where I learned. It was a pretty odd change to go from southern Alberta to Vancouver. Southern Alberta is kind of where I was born and grew up until I was 8. Mm-hmm. We moved to Vancouver, and that was just the most culture shock I'd ever been through. In my, there's people of all different color. There's language. Like, I was the minority for a long time. Yep. And I think that was really good for me, because when I came back to Grande Prairie, and I was back in this kind of vanilla white bread, small town, had a really different outlook. Yeah, and I was almost probably within 2 years of coming to Grande Prairie that I got into music. I'd always wanted to be into music. Like I always wanted, as far as I can remember, to just rock.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I thought was the coolest. But it wasn't until we got here, and I was 16 or 17, and I finally got a guitar.
Okay.
And that was, yeah.
What was your first guitar?
My first guitar was a Segovia brand acoustic.
Cool.
I don't know if there's a model.
Yeah.
I know at the time you could buy one for $200.
Right.
It would come with a case,
Yep.
a bunch of picks.
Yep.
Ernie Ball How to Play Guitar book.
Awesome. Yeah.
And that was like Grande Prairie Music's like starter guitar acoustic kit.
Right.
And I learned how to play half of Radiohead's The Bends on that. So that was my first foray into it.
Cool. What was your first electric guitar?
Also the one that got away. My first electric guitar was a Fender Japanese-made Squire Series Strat.
Cool.
Which, because it was made in Japan and it said Squire Series on the headstock, I thought it was crap.
Right.
So I realized much later in life was like, oh, those are really highly desirable and collect. Oops.
Of course.
And I think I traded it for like some Digitech multi-effects pedal, which is just like...
As one does, man.
Yeah, it was
exactly.
a smoking deal, man. Every effect in the universe right there.
Every single. What more do you need? Why would you buy anything else?
Yeah, that was my first electric. I had it for a long, probably 2 years. But the first electric, and the one that I like, that was the first one I owned, but the one that I think of as my first electric is probably my Epiphone SG, which I still have.
Cool. Gotcha. Where did you get that from? Did you buy that here in town or from elsewhere?
The Epiphone SG?
Yeah.
I bought it from GP Music.
Oh, awesome.
I went in, it was used on consignment, I think, for $500, which I did not have. Yeah. And they let me do it on layaway.
Yeah.
And it took me I think 2 months to come up with it.
Cool. What drew you to the SG shape?
I didn't see a lot of them, or at that, my circle of cultural awareness at that time didn't let me see a lot of them. I've since realized like they might be the second or third most common guitar in the universe. I liked the little horns. I thought they had a little attitude without being. I didn't really like really pointy Jackson-y type things.
I gotcha.
To me, they were always like, it's just trying way too hard. Just simmer down, guys. The SG had a little bit of attitude, but it also had kind of sexy curves.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just like, I was really attracted to the symmetry of it. So
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you remember who you dealt with at GP Music?
Oh, absolutely.
Who'd you deal with?
Yeah.
Who was it?
With the layaway for that guitar was Dave Wright.
Okay.
But it was Dave and Mike. Those are the guys.
Of course.
At GP Music.
Of course.
It was Dave and Mike. Always Dave and Mike.
Always Dave and Mike. Hey, it was the same with me. When we lived up north, I feel like we drove, you know, when you live further north than GP, like driving to Grande Prairie to do some shopping is like an awesome day trip or
where did you
weekend.
live?
Hay River, Northwest Territories at the time.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we drove down, I think, to pick up like a digital piano or like a large keyboard for my sister who was learning piano at the time. And I remember, you know, walking around like a guitar store, and I chatted with Dave and Mike. And again, the backstory for people not from the area, I mean, Grande Prairie Music was now it's Long and McQuaid in another building and the whole thing. But you know, that was like the music store where all of us, I say all of us, but I can only speak for myself, you know, would go and look at guitars that we couldn't buy.
It was a hub.
And sit around and play, you know, like play every single guitar and get, you know, playfully told off by Dave or Mike, or you know, or something like that, right? They would keep you real. Maybe you can put it that way.
I miss that store so much because I had the privilege of working there for a few years. Yeah. And then it got bought by Long McQuaid, and I worked there for a few more. Good Lord, I miss. Long McQuaid's a great company. I love Long McQuaid. I don't want to say they're not, but I missed the GP Music days because there's something about independent stores. The guys, they'll mouth you off. Totally. They'll joke with you. They'll become your friend. You'll never just be a customer. You'll always be something plus. And there's more opinions with independent stores.
Absolutely.
They're like, no, you know, I'm not selling you a Samson mic. I know
Totally.
we carry Samson mics. I'm not selling you a Samson mic.
Exactly.
You're buying an SM58. Well, that's
Exactly.
3 times as much. No, shut up.
Trust me.
Shut up,
You
kid.
need this, yeah.
This is the mic you're buying.
Exactly.
Don't be an idiot.
Yep.
Whereas, the box store culture is more like, hey, whatever you want to buy, man.
That's
cool with us.
Totally. Brandon, who we talked to earlier, was, he's like a big gear person, right? And I feel like when I met him, that was one of the things we bonded over, was just knowledge of gear more than anything. Like, I was a big gear nerd, and so was he. And I can safely say that most of that gear knowledge came from, again, just hanging out and conversing with folks at GP Music. I mean, this was like, it's not like it was pre-internet, because the internet was around, but it wasn't the same as now, where you could go on YouTube and find every single thing you could ever think of purchasing musically.
The internet was really not useless, but a lot more challenging to use.
Totally.
You had to either know the exact web address or really know how to specifically use non-Google search engines, like web crawler or something.
Yeah.
It was a lot more,
Absolutely.
lot more challenging to find cool stuff, and
Yep. It was like a combination of that, maybe still buying guitar magazines. That was a
I said I
that was
wasn't
a
going to do
thing.
this, and then now I'm doing it.
This is why I brought it over, man.
You're smart. I'm gonna have some more tea.
Do it, man. It was a combination of like putting a lot of legwork into trying to find stuff online, which, as you said, it was a whole process. Looking for books and magazines, trying to find interviews with your favorite players or something, or artists, watching, I don't know, Much Loud, watching Much Music, something like that, just catching an interview and finding out what somebody was using for gear. And so having, I guess, what was a hub of conversation like GP Music was amazing, because aside from, everyone kind of keeping you real a little bit when you're young and giving you information that later would, you would realize how important it was or how much sense it made. It was, you could just find out a lot of facts, like, I like this. What does that guy play?
Did you go there and spend just hours?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
just hang out for an afternoon, you go at like 2 o'clock and leave at 5?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, without meaning to, you kind of walk in and you're like, last time I was here, I saw that they had these 2 guitars. Maybe I'll plug those in. And then suddenly it's 3 hours, later, and you have to, like, go.
I remember one of the most exciting times in before I worked there. They had, I don't even know what they called it, but it became like local, like my, friends Nathaniel and a couple other guys was just like, they're having like Gibson days.
Yes.
They got like 10 Gibson models in as opposed to like 1 or 2. Just like, oh my gosh, we got to get down there. Like, we were there every day for like 2 weeks, just like, look at them. There's 4 Les Pauls.
That's right.
Look at them all. Like,
That's
so
incredible.
just, small town music stores are
Absolutely.
a treasure.
A treasure, for sure, man. So, when was that Howler show? Did we figure that out? 2001, maybe?
Ooh, yeah.
Or was it 2000?
I am not sure entirely. It would have been somewhere in the 2000, 2001, maybe 2002 time.
Yeah.
I think Crushing Sarah folded pretty close to right after that, so
Okay.
somewhere around there. Although my blood stain on the stage went to live on
Absolutely.
the stage
Absolutely.
for at least another 6 years.
Totally.
Until they renovated.
Yep. It was a legendary thing, as it were.
Somebody spilled their daiquiri here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's what
It was
happened.
a daiquiri. Yep.
It was a daiquiri.
Totally. Yep. Clearly. Just he was just minding his own business and it just spilt. Nothing
Maybe
to
that
see.
daiquiri has feelings. You should leave it alone. Don't make fun of it.
Exactly. You weren't there. Oh my gosh. What was Crushing Sarah your first band? Like your first, main kind of musical endeavor?
No.
No. Of course.
I was in a high school band. I was in 2 high school bands. I'm trying to remember. I think, or maybe no. We'll say 1.
Sure.
Because it went through a few lineup changes, but I don't think we changed the name.
Right.
But I was in a band called An Essay for Sarah Jane,
Ooh.
which is just a really nice, concise name to put on posters and
Absolutely.
stuff. It was
Rolls
not
off
at
the
all
tongue.
inconvenient. And we played, well, now it would probably be called like slow indie rock, but at the time it was emo.
Emo.
Late 90s
It's
emo.
a beautiful thing.
The Jurassic era
Oh.
of emo. So
Yep.
I was recently posting about online.
Right.
This is pre-Hot Topic emo.
Yes.
Nothing, there was no black. Just picture the front of Weezer's Blue Album, and that's
Absolutely.
how everybody dressed
Yep.
at that time. Yeah. Emo-wise,
Emo.
anyway. Yeah.
Yep.
So I did that until I graduated. That was kind of my thing. And then when I graduated, I lived in Utah for a while and then Calgary for a while. And I thought music was done because I was like, well, I didn't make it in a band in high school, so I guess I got to be an adult.
Yep.
And I was pretty miserable because I wasn't playing music at all.
Yeah.
So when I got back to GP, that was when, I got back into playing with old friends from not the same band, but same scene.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so Crushing Sarah was the next step in like wanting to take music seriously.
Right.
Played like 6 shows and then stopped.
Yep. Yep.
But the intention of like we're gonna do this was part of starting that band. So.
Got it. When did you start writing songs? And not just like, riffs as we all do, but, when did you have in your mind like the intent? I feel like I am compelled to write a song.
I mean, I remember being like a little kid and driving in the family car in the back seat and like making up songs as we drove kind of a thing. They were gone within 30 minutes and forever into the ether.
Yep.
But I think the actual songs I started writing and like dissecting and editing and piecing them back together probably about the same time I got my first guitar.
Ah, okay.
In high schools.
Interesting. I'm always fascinated by songwriters and people who write and pursue original music, because a lot of times people love playing an instrument, but they're not compelled to take it a step further, or they're not compelled to go deeper. Not that either one is good or bad or better or worse or anything like that, but it's like a market difference, right?
I think for me because I wanted to write songs. That's why I got a guitar.
Ah, okay. Got it.
I didn't want to be a guitar player. I wanted to
Right.
be in a band and I wanted to rock out and I wanted to write songs.
Yep.
The guitar was just the thing that let me do that. I mean, of course, I became a huge guitar enthusiast and builder and for a brief time collector. But that all came second.
Okay.
And that's still my approach. I consider myself a songwriter who is also a guitar player.
Sure.
Which is the only time I ever improve on my guitar playing skills, when I try and write something I can't play.
Right.
Oh, gosh, well, I guess I better work on that.
Indeed. So staying around the same time, around the time that Crushing Sarah was gigging, who were some of the other bands in town that you remember? Some of the other musicians who played a role in the scene.
I'm trying not to get my timeline muddled. There was a metal band that did a lot of like Alice in Chains and Metallica covers that I cannot remember their name. They were really mad at us for beating them in that Battle of the Bands. I remember that.
Right.
They kind of fancied themselves like the big band at the college.
Sure.
And I have no clue if they were or not. Maybe they were. There was Elijah's Tomb.
Yep.
Which had been going since they were teenagers when they started.
Okay.
So they'd been going for about 5 years at least. There was Rocksmith.
Yes. Yes.
Which I think at the time was Rocksmith Tabla.
They were called Rocksmith Tabla. That's correct.
And Last Adam. There was a band called Last Adam. Pre-Reject. Oh, I'm trying to remember. Dead Morning.
Yes, Dead Morning
was a band. Fungal Junk.
Fungal Junk.
Fungal
What a
Junk.
great name.
I know, right?
That's an awesome name.
Great name.
Okay.
There's a couple others. I don't
Right.
remember them.
Right.
Higgins, Mike's
Right, of
band from the
course.
music store was
Yep.
kicking about that time. As was Dave's band, Shady Junction,
Shady Junction. Yes.
who they were kicking around town for like
Yep.
25 years or something
Yep.
like that, 30 years.
Yep. Playing all the dances and socials.
All
and
the- yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Gary rocking the guitar.
Gary, man, what a guy.
Yeah. That's the ones I remember
Yeah.
most.
Okay. Okay. Now you played in Higgins, correct?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Later on, their bass player quit.
Okay.
And I foolishly said, I got a bass and can play. I didn't know how to play a lick of bass. And that probably became apparent when I joined. What I could do was play a root note on time.
Right.
And I don't know why they let me in the band, but they did. So I learned to play bass
Yeah.
a lot better in the year and a half or however long I was with them. Because it was a cover band, primarily a cover band. They had some originals, but they did 200 or 300 covers. It was one of those bands where it'd be like, we're gonna do 3-hour-long sets throughout the night, and what of our catalog do we want to stuff in here? Well, it's a biker crowd, so we got to play Born to Be Wild.
Of course.
Well, it's the country bars, so we got to and so I learned how to be a competent bass player that way, but I still approached it like a guitarist, you know, like
I gotcha.
do 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 chicka chicka
Yeah,
on the
of
bass
course.
string.
Tom Meaning on bass. Play the chuckas.
Everybody wants to hear that.
They do. They really do.
Yeah, it was around the same time.
Okay. Now, was that around the time you were in Crushing Sarah, or was that post?
Both.
Okay. Got it.
I started with Higgins while in Crushing Sarah.
Okay.
I remember having the talk with Mike, like, well, Crushing Sarah was my priority. Just so
of
you
course.
know. 3 shows
Indeed.
later, it's gone. And then, I stuck with them for a while. I didn't have any other band for a little bit, and it was just Higgins. And but I got tired of playing covers.
Sure.
Real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Was the next musical endeavor Boy Charlie?
Yeah.
Or okay, got it. Let's see, Boy Charlie. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I may have missed from the sort of early 2000s time. When I was chatting with Brandon, he mentioned I'd mentioned that I remembered that. Sorry, my phone's ringing. I'm just gonna put that on quiet. There we go. When I got to town, people always talked about the Compass or the C Spot as a place where people played music. I remember the Rocksmith folks talking about that as well. Did you go there? Like, what was that scene like?
So
What was that place?
the C Spot and the Compass were probably the thing I miss most about the early Grande Prairie music scene. James Denny, God bless his heart, had the notion to have a little coffee shop, sandwich, bistro-y type thing. It was licensed, so if you were an adult, you could buy alcohol. And then in the back room, he had a small stage and seating areas set up. It was like bleacher-style seating in a room that could like fit top 65 people. It
Got
was
it.
a hilariously crammed space. And I still have a piece of the stage taped to a guitar case.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
But that was, prior to that, a certain punk rocker in town who I won't name, of course, because, but his bands and his cronies said that they would go to a venue like the Creative Arts Center, or they'd go to the Legion, or something like that. They'd throw a show, and they would promptly trash everything in the place.
Okay. Got
So
it.
every show with them was a one-time thing.
Right.
And then once they turned off every like hall and potential venue in town to the idea of like letting young local bands play,
Right.
they were like, well, see you later, we're done.
Okay.
So like Nathaniel from Elijah's Tomb and
Yep.
I kind of came up in the scene of like there was nowhere to play.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And we went, I remember going down to GP Music and being like, where could we play? We want to play gigs. Where do
Yep.
we play?
Yep.
And we were too young to play in bars.
Right.
But Dave Wright said, go down to the C spot, talk to James Denny. He's got a space for live bands. He's been wanting to start throwing shows.
Okay.
So we started putting on shows back there. That was the first show I threw there was an essay for Sarah Jane with Elijah's Tomb, and I think that was it, just the two of us.
Okay.
And then the next one had Rocksmith on the bill because they had
cool.
started just after that. So
Got it.
yeah, we had to rebuild
Wow.
the whole music scene
Right.
with only one brand new venue.
Gotcha.
So it was fun.
Where else in town did you guys play? Well, like once that has started to pick up again in terms of having venues that were not bars. Like, were there other places to host all ages shows at the time?
No, not really. They're you could prior to that you could go to the Creative Arts Center and rent a space and throw a show and have a great time. Or you could go to the Legion, you could go to like Nordic Hall.
Right.
There were places, but they'd gotten burned really badly.
Right. Got it.
So we started with the C Spot. We threw a bunch of successful shows, and then I kind of had like, well, you can call James at the C Spot,
Okay.
and he'll vouch for us.
Ah, okay.
And they'd be like, okay, well, let's see. And so they, I don't know if anybody ever even called him, but that was enough to kind of like,
Right.
fine, a $300 deposit, you can try it. We can try this out. And so we had a couple of shows with expensive deposits
Right. Okay.
that we didn't make our money back on. But that was how we restarted
Okay.
the scene, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Give me one sec. I think the camera that
There was a beep.
the beep. So let me just see what that beep means.
So good.
And we're back. Okay. I'm back. Yeah. You asked about hitting all the ground during the wee break. We are. One of the things that I was thinking about prior to this recording date was there was an article that people kept on posting a couple of months ago. I mean, I saw it on Facebook, but I mean, it was posted in like, legitimate kind of news places, where, I don't know, sources. It was about art and how, I don't know what the backstory was behind this right now, but the headline was something like, research shows that, artists succeed because of their friends. And so people posted it saying one of two things. One was kind of the negative end of things, like, oh, it doesn't matter how good your art is. It's, only if you have connections and nepotism will you get ahead. And I thought that was funny because my read on that, I think based on my experience, was more to do with sort of interconnectedness within a scene. That's how I read it. And, it wasn't like the article stated explicitly that, scenes are bad or scenes are good, only that based on who's around you, how you involve yourself in some kind of scene wherever you are, or specific to what it is that you do. Those kinds of things are more of a metric for success, which made a lot of sense to me, which, again, ties in with the point of this podcast, which is that, a scene, specifically a scene here, all the people who are part of that scene, played a massive role in me getting to do what I do today. And I think that's an important thing to chat about. As you were talking about the deposit thing, playing the C Spot, the music store folks telling you to talk to James, and then somebody saying, okay, James would vouch for you, that kind of thing. I think that's an amazing thing. It's like a very organic kind of way for something to be built. There weren't venues, and then a few people, supporting like young musicians, up and coming artists, should we say at the time, led to, I guess, the point where I jumped into the scene, which is that there were a few places where bands were playing, and I, arriving in Grande Prairie at that time, I was able to see a lot of bands in a very short span of time, and that, was very compelling. You mentioned Rocksmith. I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Rocksmith and how interesting and cool they were. I didn't know any of the folks playing in any of these bands because I wasn't from here. But the thing that struck me about Rocksmith was at the time, Cade, I think this is before he had a growth spurt. So he was like, a short, skinny kid with this massive voice. And so the first time I saw them play, and they're just like the nicest guys. They kind of hit stage. And I'm like, oh, who are these? Who are these small children? And then the sound that came out of their hands and instruments and Cade's mouth was amazing. It was a really, really cool band.
I was saying to Brandon from your first episode, just before he took off, like we were talking when Rocksmith came up, and it was like, and he was like, what was it like? And I was like, well, I would say what Rocksmith did, because they didn't play a whole lot of shows in the grand scheme of things.
Ah, okay.
They've played, I would say, around 20 shows.
Okay.
I don't. Maybe it's more. I don't know.
Yep.
And then into the legend of GP Past.
Yeah.
But what I think they did was they were the first band from our scene to come out and just be great.
Yeah.
Just pro level great. Yeah. Nobody was going, they're good for a local band.
Exactly.
They're not bad for a bunch of local boys. It was just like they were great.
Yeah.
I think obviously they were a little, like a lot of us in our first bands. It was like, okay, Silverchair clone.
Sure.
But you could have hit me with, okay, Weezer clone.
Sure.
You could have hit all of us with that, I'm sure. But I think at the time they were playing music people wanted to hear. They were playing it as good as people wanted to hear it.
Yeah.
And if you would have put them on a tour or put an album out there with them and given it the same chances as other records at the time, I think they would have been something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what struck me about the first time seeing them, which may have been at Howlers, actually. A lot of stuff seems to come back to Howlers, I just realized, was that, they hit stage and their songs were tight, the delivery was fantastic. They were a trio, and the sound was huge. All the songs sounded like a record. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, it was great. That, I think, what they brought to the scene and left the scene with, which I think is really felt to this day, is, other guys like me go, first off, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this good enough. I need to step my game up.
Yeah.
And they made people go, well, it is obviously possible to be a freaking great band and be from GP. I don't need to be from Sunset Strip or New York or something.
Yep.
Like you can just bloom where you stand.
Absolutely. A lot of it comes down to your art, your artistic identity, the things that make you tick, but then also putting the time into developing your craft. And I think that's, thinking about it now, that's a thing that struck me about a lot of the bands, including like Boy Charlie and such, is that like everyone had obviously spent time developing the craft, whether it was like facility on the instrument, time spent dialing in tones, or stagecraft. Like so many of those bands had, everyone had previous bands that led to that band, in 2002 or 3, for example, just hitting the stage and being really, really good, which is important. Stagecraft, playing, being in a terrible band.
It's a good tip, Arjun.
Oh my gosh.
Best thing you can do as a band is to be really good.
Exactly. This is a
Don't
secret.
suck.
Don't suck. These are, like
bowling coach tips. Knock all the pins down.
That's right. I got one thing to say, guys. That was a malformed thought. I think what I was actually thinking about was it's important to be in terrible bands, and put yourself out there. It's important to be a young artist, a young musician who's not very good. Again, for me, I started playing in bands and hitting open mics and meeting people and writing terrible songs, and playing badly and out of time and slightly out of tune, and eventually working my way up to
and that I think that I think highlights where our friendship really bloomed, because I don't remember you doing that. I think I missed all of these so-called claims of yours of sucky shows. Because the first time I remember actually seeing you with a band, it was like, crap, the bar got raised again.
Oh, no.
I got to work harder.
You're too kind.
Actually, I do remember one show at Howlers, again, open mic. I don't even think you played with there was like one other guitarist or something. There wasn't a drummer or bass player. I think you guys, it was like just a bunch of shredding of some kind or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember the hammer, the slammer.
Yes, the
with
slammer.
Your chain strap.
The chain strap. Oh my gosh. That was a thing that I did for like 5 years in public. I might add.
A long time.
My guitar
Some might
strap
say
was a
too
chain.
long for a guy who wasn't actually Zakk Wylde.
No. I mean, step one, put EMGs in your crappy guitar. Step two, buy a chain from Canadian Tire. Step three, fix it to your guitar. Step four, shreddery ensues.
If your guitar doesn't have good tone, make sure it has a lot of output behind it.
Exactly.
And then is also uncomfortable to wear.
The worst part about the chain strap, aside from the whole thing being ridiculous, was that it was very heavy. It was like the chain was as heavy as my cheapo guitar.
Added
right?
10 pounds to your 10-pound guitar.
Absolutely. Plus, because it was like a literal chain. I mean, again, this whole Zakk Wylde business, Brandon and I, it was like a point of introduction for us. Like, you like this EMG pickups, and we started nerding out, and then a friendship, blossomed out of that. But Zakk had a chain strap, but it had like actual strap bits that attached to the guitar, and then there was like a chain in the middle, and then back to strap. So I just had like a chain, and I don't know if it's. If anyone knows this, but I'm kind of a hairy person, so like my neck hair and my shoulder hair would just always get pinched, in this chain. It was ridiculous. It was uncomfortable, but I did it for way too long. Which is, hey man, whatever. I own it. I was that guy.
I'm not. I'm teasing you, but I am no better. I had that stupid double neck for years that I didn't know how to play. It was just purely like, I have a double neck.
Heck yeah, man. Why not?
Like, end of the show would be like, oh my God, I gotta lay down.
Of course, absolutely. But as long as while you're on stage, everything kicks ass,
I looked amazing.
It's all good. That's it. So if you play in a band, be real good and look real cool. I think, is that about it?
Actually, yeah. I mean, that's not bad.
We're good to go.
Not bad advice.
That's it. Yes, that's a thing to say. Those are things that you could say to people.
Are not tools you can't use.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. What band would you have seen me play with first? Was it already No One's Alone at the time, or was it like some aside from this, like 2-person, shreddery that everybody wanted to see clearly?
I think my first real memory of you putting real effort into the band was No One's Alone.
Okay,
I think
gotcha.
So.
That's interesting. I feel like No One's Alone was, again, that band for me that, having gone through a bunch of bands, and I think in a very condensed amount of time. Like, I played with a ton of people. I played metal, I played rock, I jammed with a bunch of people. I ended up jamming with Neil and writing with Neil, and then meeting Cadel, jamming with Cadel, writing with Cadel. And that led to us songwriting together, which really seemed to work. And then, again, I can't speak for them, but for myself, having bands like Rocksmith, Boy Charlie. I'm going to scroll up real quick. So I remember Pillbox being a band. I don't know if anyone else remembers Pillbox.
I did once you mentioned them.
Was that Stacey Brown on vocals? I think it was Stacey.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
But honestly, until you mentioned them, it was like they'd long dropped off my memory.
Sure. Reject, was Reject a thing at that point, or was it
started a little bit later? I think.
Gotcha.
Not too much later, but a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah, they were mid-2000s, I think.
Okay, got it. So No One's Alone was a band that, me being in the midst of all these musicians and all these bands that were really good, that was the band where I was, just compelled to really write music that I thought was better than what I'd been writing before, and practice my guitar really hard so I could play as well as I could. And try to be a good band. That was that band for me.
You were, dude, you were annoyingly great.
You're too kind.
I believe I just said annoyingly. No, I distinctly remember like your first show was just like, why didn't I sound that good on our first show? How did that happen?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Good, like crap, like you were definitely crap. The bar got raised again, like it was stupid.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you to say.
I have to keep getting better?
You're right. Well, again, that was my reaction to seeing all of you guys, and every single band was like, oh, now these guys are, oh man, or now seeing some other band and having the same reaction, like, oh, now these guys are doing what now? Guys, we can't perform until we get as good as these guys, that
See,
kind of thing,
I always
right?
thought
Like,
Boy Charlie, I thought we were like the farm dog of the band community. We're like people be like, they're not really doing much.
come on.
We'd all miss them if they were gone.
Sure, yeah.
They're all a nice bunch of boys. Like that's how
so funny.
I thought
Okay.
of us. It's like,
Okay.
I don't know if that was
Interesting. No, you guys were great. Well, tell me about Boy Charlie. What does the name mean? If there isn't a meaning, that's fine.
there's
what's
not super deep.
Okay.
Boy Charlie was just a shortened version of I had a vinyl of a boy named Charlie Brown,
Oh, okay.
and it was just like
Yep.
Boy Charlie.
Cool.
And it was started after Crushing Sarah folded, and the drummer from Crushing Sarah and I got together with my friend Dan, and that's how Boy Charlie got started. And it was the three of us for quite a while, Richie, Dan, and I.
Right.
And then Richie and his girlfriend got pregnant, and so he was like, well, my focus are changing. I'm going to be a dad, and
Yeah.
I probably should be a responsible person and such. And what do you mean? Being in a band isn't. So Richie bailed
Yeah.
to be a dad, as so he should have.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's one thing if the band, I think, has prospects on the
Sure.
horizon, or there's things going on. It's just we were playing Howlers next week, man.
Yeah, exactly.
The open mic.
What are
come
you thinking,
on.
man? Think about this.
Think your priorities, Richie.
Of course. Of course.
So Richie left. Nathaniel Sturr's younger brother, Kaylor Sturr,
Right.
joins.
Right.
And I think that would probably be around when Boy Charlie kind of really became what I think everybody kind of remembers it for being.
Yeah. I got you.
We had recorded a full-length album at the same time. So it was a weird transition period for Boy Charlie. We had a guy named Andrew who we were playing live with. Nathaniel was doing the drums on the record.
Okay.
Richie was still finishing off a couple of shows with us. And then we were also teaching Kaylor all the songs because he was going to be joining us. Because Andrew just was temporary, and
Right.
it was just every day of the week I was playing with a different drummer
Right.
for some reason or another.
Yeah.
It was, it was
Interesting.
a really silly, in hindsight, thing. But
It happens. I mean, you make it work, right? I mean, I think that's one of those scene things. You have gigs to play, and it's a time of transition. How do you do it? People, they fill in, and you get to the next thing, get to the next level, I guess.
yeah, Boy Charlie was my first experience with doing gigs on the road.
Where did you guys play on the road?
We
guys
did
go?
local-ish tours.
Yep.
And we did a couple. We did shows in Grimshaw, Peace River,
Okay, yep.
Slave Lake, Edmonton. I think the furthest we ever went was we did a show on the Crow's Nest Pass.
Wow.
Some
Where's
little,
Crow's Nest Pass?
Crow's Nest Pass is one of the routes through the mountains to Vancouver from Calgary. It's
Okay.
southern
I gotcha.
Alberta.
Yep.
So it was at a camp, and there another band had connected us with that. So we played it 2 years in a row, once as Boy Charlie, and then the next year we came back as it was Boy Charlie again. It was just our final show.
Gotcha. Cool. After Boy Charlie, was that Tasman Jude time? Is that when that picked up, or
No.
Or was there a while, or was there something else in
was a
between that I'm
while.
missing? Yeah.
So after Boy Charlie, I really wanted to. I wanted to keep going. I wanted to do harder music, but also wanted to explore. I wanted to be a very diverse band. I
Right.
wanted to be in a band that kind of just did whatever the heck it wanted.
Yeah.
And but I also wanted it to be just the best band that this GP had ever seen.
Yeah.
I remember at the time, so I'm sure you're going to talk about more with a lot of people. Peace Starts at Home
Yes.
had started.
Right.
It had its first year. Boy
Right.
Charlie was in it
Yep.
that first year. And then Boy Charlie ended, and Peace Starts Home was having its second year.
Mm-hmm.
And in that in-between time is when I started Book of Names.
Right, Book of Names, yes.
And Book of Names was like, it didn't have a name yet. It took us forever to get a name, but that was the band where it was like, this band is going to be like, the whole premise of that band was like, don't join if you don't want to tour, if you don't want to make a record or two,
Right.
or if you don't want to we're going to try and make a business and a career out of this.
Right.
Which unfortunately didn't happen. But I started Book of Names, and the first goal we set was like, we're going to win Peace Starts at Home.
Awesome. Yeah. Yep.
That was we're going to start off. No one's going to know about us until Peace Starts at Home starts. We're going to enter. We're going to be unknowns, and we're going to win it, and then that's going to start our career, which we did. So it was kind of like aha!
Heck yeah.
And I did Book of Names for years.
Yeah.
Years and years. Actually, Book of Names only stopped playing 3 years ago.
Really?
2 or 3 years ago, yeah.
Okay.
Up until then, we officially broke up 3 or 4 years before that. We were done. We didn't play a show for a year or two.
Yeah.
And then we played a couple of surprise shows, and then we just all of a sudden started gigging again.
Got it. Okay.
And then just stopped again.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that was, a lot of that period of time was when I lived abroad. And so, I remember Book of Names being a thing, and then probably a couple of years later I moved away. I think that's how it lines up. So, real quick, going back to Boy Charlie for a sec, you guys recorded a full length.
Yeah.
Where did you record?
Nathaniel had started a studio. He bought whatever version of Pro Tools was.
Yep.
The version at the time, and bought a couple of mics to record with, and voila, studio.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And so we recorded at his studio, which he calls, I think he's still keeping that thing going.
Yep.
Dovefire Studios.
Yeah, Dovefire. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then with Book of Names, did you guys record there, or were you guys recording?
The only released recording that Book of Names ever did was also done.
Okay.
He moved it to a new place. He built a whole dedicated studio
Right. Okay.
thing with a live room and a mastering room and stuff, and we recorded it there.
Got it.
Book of Names has probably 16 started recordings past that, and that never got finished or completed. We still are talking it'd be really nice to finish those just for posterity.
Yep.
And I don't know if it'll ever happen, but yeah. No, we're that dinosaur band in the music scene. It was around for 8 years, and
Okay.
played better than Fred's. God only knows how many times.
Well, I mean, I feel like we all did a bunch of that. There were spells when one of our bands sort of were playing, here or there a ton for a while, and then we just kind of cooled off for a sec, and then someone else did that. Tell me about the difference in writing between Boy Charlie and then Book of Names. What was there a difference other than wanting to play a more diverse amount of stuff?
For one thing, I think the main difference I would probably say is 100% my attitude. In Boy Charlie, I think looking back on it, I don't feel this way. But at the time, I looked at Boy Charlie as we're not that great. And,
Okay.
I need to work with people who want to do this more, and I need to get better. And
Right.
And in Book of Names, I felt like I was working with good people, and I felt like I was in a better place, and the music was stronger, and the music was stronger, but I think it was I had a better attitude.
Okay.
But I was the primary songwriter in both
Right.
bands. Later in Book of Names' life, Mitch Diesel joined.
Right.
And he and I were just kind of two puzzle pieces that fit really well together. And
Gotcha.
just we did a bunch of new songs together that I really love. So. Wish I could listen to them.
Of course. I understand. Okay, that's interesting. Now, how does that segue into Tasman Jude? And and Origami Army? Like, were you done with the band thing? Did you need a change of scene,
No, so Tasman Jude started because I had met Caleb, and he was a straight up reggae dude, and I'd always loved reggae and ska going back to my teen years. And I didn't want to mix that sound with Book of Names. Book of Names had a very hard rock, borderline proggy type influences. And I had kind of mixed those sounds, and Boy Charlie had mixed reggae with hard rock and stuff.
Right.
And I felt like it got mediocre kind of results out of that. So I didn't want to mix that again, but I wanted to indulge that side of me. So I started talking about doing something with Caleb and stuff. We never practiced or anything like that. We didn't write anything. We just showed up at, again, Howlers.
There we go.
For an open mic night one day, just to screw around. Didn't write any songs. Just like 10 minutes before we went on stage, was like, I've got these riffs. Why don't we say these lines for a quote-unquote chorus, and then you can just do some really thickly accented chanting for verses in between. And we'll call them songs.
Got it.
And that was the beginnings of Tasman Jude. So at the time, it was like Book of Names was still going. I wasn't planning on ending it. And then people were so blown away by whatever that mess of non-songs was that we did at Howlers with Tasman Jude. That we got mobbed afterwards. We're like, who are you guys? What's the band name? Where can we find you? And so was Tasman Jude was something I had occasionally used as a name when I did solo performances. It's two of my middle names. And then it was like, well, we'll use that until we think of something better. And it was, okay, fine. Yeah, that's fine. Because I didn't want that. But and then everything with that band just exploded. Everything just exploded with that band. It was, anything we did worked out well, and it worked out big. And so the name could not be changed. It stuck. And it was within like 6 months. I was so busy with it that I had to tell the Book of Names guys we had to kind of put a lid on it. And then it became, that was the job. It was just Tasman Jude.
And just to kind of set up the scope of the whole Tasman Jude thing, you guys started playing as Tasman Jude. And then how soon after that did you sort of play nationally and then internationally?
We started Tasman Jude. We were doing West Coast tours within that first 6 months.
Right.
Somehow within the first like 3 months of that starting, we had done, it was like 60 or 80 different performances.
Wow.
And stuff. Like it was just, which a lot of them were like, there was a country bar called Duke's that was hosting a little like open mic night competition. You could vote for your favorite performer of the night, and then at the end of the month, whoever got the most votes got to perform at Bud Country Fever, big country festival.
Beautiful.
And we had just been like, it would be hilarious if this reggae band won and they had to put us up at Bud Country. And I'm pretty sure we did, but I think they went through a bit of a panic and were like, we can't do that. So this person wins.
Right.
But yeah, so a lot of I think we did probably 30 performances, like, because there was 2 open mic nights a week. For like a month and a half or 2 months that they ran that competition or whatever it was. And we did every single one of them.
That's awesome.
Which was good because it got us performing. We smoothed out the thing. So yeah, within 6 months we were doing West Coast tours. We did one run to Toronto and back, or no, Ottawa and back. What's further?
Ottawa, I think.
Ottawa.
Yeah,
it's on the border of Quebec.
Yep.
Yeah. So we did Ottawa and back, and then we did Australia.
Right.
And then we did a couple more like Canadian Ottawa and back things. We didn't do coast to coast per se ever. there was some Eastern tours. There was a lot of like Prairies tours. There was
Yeah.
a lot of West Coast tours. Then we did the Caribbean,
Yep.
and then Australia came calling again, and yeah, it was a busy
Absolutely.
busy band.
Definitely. How many shows do you think you played with Tasman Jude?
With Tasman Jude, I think the band did in total around 700 and something shows. I was
amazing, man.
there
Yeah.
because I left Tasman Jude in 2015
Okay.
after 500 and something shows.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot of shows.
A lot of shows.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
It was
Yeah.
yeah, we were on the road
Yep.
probably 250 days a year.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. Surprisingly enough, leading me to somewhat of a mental breakdown.
Right.
And thus leaving the band. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I gotcha.
To go from like virtually no touring experience at
Yeah.
all to that was just it was crazy.
Absolutely. I can't imagine, man. I know you have to go real soon.
We got time.
Cool. So maybe I'll just kind of bullet point the last few things, and we can kind of wrap it up that way. And sort of finishing Tasman Jude, what brought you to Origami Army? How did that come about?
So I left Tasman Jude. It's really hard to bullet point this.
I mean, you don't have to. I'm just, for my own
Yeah,
thoughts, I'm just going
yes.
to bullet point the things.
I left Tasman Jude.
Yeah.
I essentially had to I really had to kind of rebuild my mental health.
Yeah.
I really did truly have a breakdown.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand what it was at the time. I didn't understand it for quite a while. I had to seek a lot of help and
Right.
kind of understand what I was going through and being like, oh, I have anxiety issues. Oh, I have crippling depression issues. Oh, like,
Yeah.
what artist can struggle with mental health?
Right. Right. Go figure. No way.
That's never happened before.
No.
Picasso's fine.
That's right.
So I took maybe a year and a half where I didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
I delivered pizza and I just kind of hung around. I had met who's my wife while on tour with Tasman Jude, and we got talking a lot. And so that started developing into something a lot more, probably 8 months after I had left the band, and kind of right when I was like becoming a semi-sane person again.
Yeah.
Which she has a huge part to do with. So she moved up here because she lived in Vernon.
Okay.
She moved up here to GP because we were kind of on a long distance thing, and we didn't like that.
No, it's
So
tough, of course.
Yeah, no, it sucks. She came here, and she's a singer, and we both liked going to open mics. So
Yeah.
there was, I think they still do it. Tractor Jack's. There's a little
Oh, okay,
bar
yep,
called
yep.
Tractor Jack, restaurant bar thing here now called Tractor Jack's that had a weekly open mic where you could go, and if you sang 5 songs, you get your meal for free.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was like that was like we had a
great.
weekly date night. Like,
Heck yeah.
yeah, we're gonna go and sing 5 songs and have a free meal.
Nice.
They don't do that anymore, so don't go looking for that.
Right.
But
What a good idea, though.
it was great. It absolutely got tons of people knowing where they were, and
Yeah.
it was a smart move. But I started playing original songs that I had been writing since some of them since like 2010 when I went through my divorce. Some of them after Tasman Jude. And then I was writing a lot of new songs at the time as well, and I started trying to mess around with those, and so it kind of developed into. I developed a new act without
Yeah.
specifically setting out to do it, and kind of exploring folk and blues and roots kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
things I hadn't really put a lot of focus on before. And I had also really hurt my back in 2015.
Okay.
So I had to kind of learn how to be a completely different type of performer where I sit and
Yep.
like tell stories and do anything I can
Yep.
to take care of my back while still being an entertaining person on stage. So that was how Origami Army got started.
Okay.
And, yeah. That became a thing, and I didn't want to go get a normal job again, because once you traveled and you find what you love about it and stuff.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get back on the road. I wanted to get back into playing music for a living. I didn't want to, and it's not like you can choose whether something goes as bananas as Tasman Jude did.
Yeah.
Which it certainly, Origami Army is not like that. I have to work very hard. But I didn't want it to be the kind of hectic, draining thing that Tasman Jude became, because I didn't want to go through that rabbit hole again. So I'm a little more cautious with Origami Army, I think.
Yeah.
A lot more specific.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
What was your initial question again? Rabbit trailing here.
Yeah. No, it's all good. That's great. Tell me about, again, bullet point in my own mind, fireflies. That was a thing, and it became a thing.
Yeah. Well, you can't choose, like I said, you can't choose the moments that take off for you.
Yeah.
Fireflies, so I had this old Takamine that I had done all my touring with Tasman Jude with. My entire professional life was done with an acoustic guitar, which is the opposite of what I thought would happen. I've always been like a hard rock and electric guitar guy.
Sure.
The only reason I even had that acoustic is because I bought it out of a pawn shop, intending to resell it because I knew what the value of it was.
Yep.
And I knew they were selling it too cheap. And then I was like, well, I'll hang on to it until I can buy the Larrivee of my dreams.
Oh, of course.
So
Yep.
the Takamine just hung around because of that. I wasn't even a big fan of Takamine.
Right, I remember.
And then after doing all the touring and all the albums with Tasman Jude and stuff, it was like I had worn a big hole in the top, and it was really trashed. And so Fireflies happened because the electronics in that 20-year-old Takamine finally bit the ghost. Bit the ghost? Bit the dust?
Dude, you heard it here. This is new. Bit the ghost.
Bit the ghost.
That's it.
What? Mixing
I'll
metaphors.
Go with it. Yep.
The electronics died, and so I didn't. I had to replace them, and Takamine hasn't made that specific electronics system in it was 1998 guitar. They probably hadn't made those electronics since 2003.
Right.
So in 2015, trying to find it was difficult.
Yeah.
I quickly discovered that because of the way Takamine, trying not to get too like guitar nerd about this, but
you do you, man. It's all good.
Takamine is a smart company, but also mildly annoying in the sense that their electronics are very specifically built and installed in a way where you cannot put most other aftermarket acoustic guitar electronics in one of their guitars.
Gotcha.
For one thing, they use a split guitar saddle, so you can't use a traditional piezo.
Right. Okay.
You couldn't use a K&K system where it glues underneath the bridge, because if you look underneath the bridge of a Takamine, their electronics are this big metal bar and thing under there.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, what the heck? Like, I didn't know that was all in there.
Right.
So there's nothing to glue the K&K on. So your only options are to do either buy another Takamine system, which I was not going to do, because I didn't know where it was broken. I didn't know how to get it. I was on a tour, like 2 days later. So it was like, I don't have time to drop this off at a tech. And so I bought an LR Baggs M1, which clips in the sound hole. It's a very nice professional level pickup system that I didn't think I'd like at first, because I've never been a fan of magnetic systems for acoustics.
Gotcha.
And getting back to Fireflies and my past as a hard rock prog wannabe guy, I have never once ever had any qualms about plugging my acoustics through tons of effects.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So Fireflies came about because I was screwing around with my acoustic, run through a bunch of effects and a looper, which I had used since the very, very, well, prior to Tasman Jude. This is also prior to Ed Sheeran. I was actually really mad when Ed Sheeran came out.
Of course.
I was like, you're giving away all my secrets, dang it.
It's my thing.
That's my looping. You're letting everybody thought I was a way better guitarist before you.
Right.
Ed Sheeran is like the guy who pulls the Wizard's curtain back. And
Yeah.
You see the guy pulling. Yeah.
Exactly.
He ruined it for all of us.
Yep.
There goes my opening slot with Ed Sheeran. So I was messing around with my looper and my effects pedals, and as I'm wont to do, I turned on too many.
Ah.
All right, so when I had all these effects turned on, I had a delay on, I had a reverb on, I had a boost turned on, all of which turned this LR Baggs M1 microphonic, and I noticed I could hear the echoes of like.
Right.
I think my wife called me or something. I
Yep.
was on the phone. I could hear my own voice echoing through my guitar into the amplifier and stuff. And so I started messing around with a little loop phrase and then singing some words into the microphonic pickup of the acoustic, entirely just to make something to put on social media, just because you're always looking for new, fresh things to throw up
Yeah.
on your social media just to keep people engaged.
Yep.
And I did that, and then I walked away and was like, posted it, and didn't think about it again for like a week and a half. And in that week and a half, it got shared around Facebook a couple hundred times and got, I don't know, 10,000 plus views.
Yeah.
Which for me, where I was, which was like a lot. And so that's how I wrote Fireflies.
Right.
And the behind the scenes to that is I also had to sit down with that video that I made
Right.
and relearn how to play the song, because I never thought I'd have to gig it. I was just
Yeah.
like, oh, look what you can do if you're an idiot with your pedals.
Right.
So I had to relearn my own song from my
Yeah.
own video, because everywhere I was playing was asking like, are you going to play that song?
Yep. Yep.
Totally.
Of course.
Yeah, I know how to play that.
Yep.
Just give me 10 minutes.
That's cool, man. I remember seeing that on Facebook. It was shared a bunch, and that's how I came across it. And it's just one of those things, you know, like I feel like we are sort of guitar and gear nerds enough that, you know, we can sort of lust after like, you know, very esoteric and rare boutique equipment and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, this is like an iPhone recording, you know, with the iPhone like mic picking up what you were doing.
Yeah.
And it's a real testament to, you know, it's all about the art. It's all about the song, you know, like the thing that people identify with is not, you know, that you recorded it at like 192 or whatever.
I wish I had like that. Like if I had any notion, if I were in doing anything intentional, I would have. Which is a real thing right there. If you're going to intentionally do something, you're always going to put more into it.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I thought I was just screwing around, so it was like, yeah, whatever. iPhone, use the selfie camera. Won't even like turn around and use the nicer camera. Whatever the audio is, it's fine.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, you know, let's wrap it up. I wanted to ask about longevity. You know, we're sitting here in 2019. You know, we're kind of reminiscing about band stuff, starting bands and things going back to the year 2000. You know, you're one of the few people who is like stuck with it in this way and has made it your life, your career. You know, the thing you do 24/7. What keeps you going?
Geez, that's a solid question that I should have prepared for.
It can be as concise as you like, or whatever. I mean, you know, it's a hard question to answer. Right?
It's a big, like, if we're gonna wrap up in 2 minutes, boom, here's the question. You know what? Part of it is just at a certain point you've spent so long doing a thing that it becomes like that's your skill set now.
Yeah. Yep.
That's your marketable thing you have to offer. It's either this or painting, and with my back injuries, I can't paint. Right. Those are the only things I really am like spent years developing the skill sets for.
Absolutely.
Also, I hate painting, so
there you go. Make the choice, you know.
It's sometimes I don't feel like I have a choice,
right?
But to keep going with this, I don't know. There's two things that give you a music career. Well, no, three. One is incredible luck.
Right.
Like if you happen to be born Jacob Dylan,
of course,
then you'd probably have some kind of a music career just ready for you to walk into it.
Yep.
I'm not saying he didn't work hard to
Sure.
do the wallflowers or anything
Yep.
like that, but it helps if Bob Dylan's your dad.
It does.
That's not his fault. It's just, So
what it
that's
is.
the fairy godmother version. The rest of us, there's two ways. Either you're a bit of an idiot, and you just refuse to accept when, like,
Right.
many times you should have or could have quit, and you just keep going until
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's a thing.
Yep.
Or you call it perseverance and not idiocy,
Yep.
and you just don't quit.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know. I read a quote once, and I really wish I could remember who said it, but it was an article, essentially same. The article was about was just giving 10 musicians' opinions on the same kind of question you just asked me,
Yeah.
like what makes you successful. And the one I really stuck out to me is the guy said, you put your head to the ground and you work really, really hard for 10 years, and then you look up and you go, do I have a career yet? I don't know. And you put your head to the ground and you work really, really hard for another 10 years, and when you bring your head up again, you'll find you had a career the whole time.
Right.
And then you put your head to the ground and you work really hard for.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that's what I'm doing.
Got it.
I don't know. Every time I've said maybe I should quit and get learn some more marketable skills, my wife's been like, "You're an idiot. Shut up. Go play a gig."
She's correct. And not that you're an idiot, but that you should keep doing what you're doing. Al, that's great, man. I mean, I think that's where we should call it for today.
Yeah.
You have stuff to do. You have gigs to go play because you're on tour.
I am.
You are playing. Where else are you playing on this tour?
It's weird. The Alberta leg of it is like 90% of these shows are all private things.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I don't know how. It wasn't deliberately planned. And then the one public show I'm doing is the Rolla Pub.
Okay.
And then I'm doing like essentially a brewery tour
Cool.
throughout northern
Yep.
British Columbia,
Yep.
which is fantastic.
That sounds great, man.
Craft beers, lovely people,
Yep.
great scenery.
Beautiful.
What else do you want?
Well, good. Do you mind if I drop, like links to all the Origami Army kind of stuff in
I would
the
really
description of this
rather
video?
not. Yeah,
You should-
please don't.
I knew you didn't want, so I thought I'd just spring it on you, but
This business is not about networking.
that's right.
Please don't help people find my
Exactly.
stuff.
So against Al's wishes, I will link to all of his stuff in the description of this video. Thank you for joining us. Check out all of the Origami Army stuff down below, and see you next time.